Do we need the U.S. government? This is a big talk around the show today. Jake was all fired up about this morning. He told me he woke up with an eggplant for this story today.
And it's very powerful.
Jake is fired up about this. So you know that Donnie is starting a commission to, and I don't even know how you, the Presidential Commission studying college sports, led by Nick Saban. Does that excite you guys? Like, are we going to somehow, quote unquote, win as fans because Donnie's involved in? Do we need Donnie involved in college sports?
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I anytime I hear, and this is unrelated to Donnie or the government, like we hear this all the time, like, you know, we're putting a study together, a commission, you know, a task force to study this or study that. My first question is always, okay, what are you actually trying to do? Because studying isn't what you're trying to do. And, you know, I'm just curious, you know, I agree that college football and college athletics generally do need some reform. They need some smoothing out. They need, you know, whether you want to have the Super League conversation or otherwise, college athletics needs something or someone to help it run better, to help it run smoother, to help it be more attractive to private money and private equity. You know, these are all things that need to be figured out. So if it takes a federal government commission led by the GOAT, then I'm cool with that. But I am not just 100% sold on the fact that a Nick Saban-led commission commissioned by the president is the right way to go about it.
But you understand that Nick Saban's a better man than you are. And I think that when
Nick Saban is a better man than you are.
You're welcome. I think something has to be done. Because even if we relate it to this Pac-12 Mountain West stuff, can't keep doing this.
Pac-10.
The only person winning are the attorneys. The only people winning are the attorneys. I think something has to be done. I'll continue to stand up here and espouse that you can't just have former college athletes continually filing lawsuits. We can't just forsake women's sports and eliminate, Title IX. Like you can't just let this stuff spiral. So I agree that something has to be done. Do I need the president of the United States trying to negotiate PGA Tour Live Golf resolutions? No, I don't. Do I need Donnie, focused on China, or do I need Donnie focused on fixing college football? I don't need the president of the United States focused on fixing college sports. The biggest problem is I don't think the stakeholders in college sports will fix themselves, because they're all out doing what the Pac-12 is doing, looking for a power grab, trying to get money. That's not how you fix things. You don't fix things by being greedy. Greed is certainly going to be part of any conversation, and I get that. A solutions-based perspective is what is needed to fix things, whether it is the car accident you got into, whether it is fixing college football or basketball. A solutions-based conversation and process that is clearly thought out, that says, what do we need at the end of this? Okay, I need a pony with pink, yellow, and blue braided hair. How am I going to get that? Okay, well, here's how we're going to procure the paint for the hair, and this is where we're going to get the pony, and this is where we're going to get the horseshoes, and this is what we're going to do when that pony takes a crap all over college football, right? Like, give me a solution to get me to an outcome. The problem is, I don't think there's a consensus on what the problem is, what the solution for the problem is, and what does it look like after we implement that solution? What's the ultimate outcome? I don't think we have that. And again, whether it's the PGA Tour and Live Golf or how you fix college sports, I don't think that there is an easy answer to, well, what does fixed look like?
Mm-hmm.
Because if I fix college football, I'm not fixing college basketball. I'm likely further eroding the foundation of college basketball. If I fix college basketball and football, I'm probably not doing anything great for the Olympic sports.
Well, that's why I say I think that this piece where the Big 12 comes into play here, I think is definitely is a talking point. You've got the founder of the Texas Tech NIL fund selling
Campbell.
Cody Campbell selling his oil company for $4.1 billion
to start and then starting a collective, and now being on Donnie's commission to save college sports.
So you have the reason I think it's such a talker is because you have the experience of Nick Saban, the firsthand real world experience in the sport, right? Like, how does recruiting work both pre-NIL and post-NIL?
Yep.
Which I think is super crucial to the conversation. But then you also have massive money, like, guy who understands what it's like to be a billionaire every day, sitting on this, committee of sorts. And so I sit here and I was really excited to talk about this because I feel like I don't know if this is a good idea or a bad idea. I don't know if this is like, my gut instinct tells me this probably isn't a good idea because it's federal government getting involved in yet another thing, and what we can't have is, like, I certainly would not want the federal government's money being spent on college football. That just doesn't, to me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. Maybe I'm naive. Maybe I'm not educated enough, but that doesn't seem like a great idea to me. The problem is, we don't have an alternative. And that's where I think the private equity, private money portion of the conversation shows up, because ultimately college football doesn't need, $1 trillion worth of an overhaul. It probably needs, $2 to $4 billion worth of an overhaul. And the big brain guys need to figure out how to kind of make all that work. And I agree. Anytime you try to reform something or totally change something, there is always going to be someone who gets the short end of the stick.
No, what will there always be? Unintended consequences.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm telling you, it will be women's sports and Olympic sports that will be the unintended consequences, because you don't ever think about college track and field until the Olympics show up. You don't ever think about college gymnastics unless you live in Salt Lake City and you have an elite program. You think about softball, you think about baseball. You ever think about diving, lacrosse? You don't think about that stuff. You don't think about the college cross country team. Those are going to go away, in my opinion, because there's too much money not going into the pockets of the rich white guys anymore.
Yeah.
And there's too much money going into the pockets of the young athlete now.
Facts.
And I think that's why the Donnie Commission on Fixing College Sports is going to happen, is happening. Because I do think that no matter how you slice this, rich people want rich people to get richer so they can get richer. It's as simple as that. And if you allow the student athlete to become a professional athlete in college, who's getting richer from that? Is it Quinn Ewers, who left behind $7 to $8 million to go make a couple of $100,000 in the NFL? I don't think Texas is shedding a single tear over Quinn Ewers being in the NFL.
No, I think they got better. Just saying.
Right? And you're probably paying less money than you would have been for two quarterbacks for one quarterback. Yeah, that's right. It's roster manipulation. It's controlling money. It's controlling access. Unintended consequences. Well, our collective gave you $1 million. We want it back. Yeah, but I'm going to transfer. So I'm going to take that money with me. Unintended consequences. Shedeur Sanders has a Lamborghini and a diamond watch, and it pissed off a bunch of NFL people. Well, now it looks like he's the best quarterback in Cleveland, like 800 picks later. But unintended consequences. You want to stand around,
clean, methodical,
and you want to be a brash, strong, confident black young man in his young 20s. Yeah, there's going to be Yeah, there's going to be some unintended consequences.
And while
for that.
I personally have no problem with that, dudes in the NFL do.
People making decisions clearly did.
Yeah.
So my point is, I don't want government involved in it. I think there needs to be a super league.
Yeah.
You know how you fix college sports? Make a super league. That'll fix it. It'll generate far more money, far more exposure, a big enough pot of cash that nobody's going to go hungry.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say. Is I think that we have to get to a point where football, obviously number one, and then basketball secondarily, has to in tandem. And whether that's the Super League with football on its own, and then basketball, but that revenue together between those two has to get to an amount that makes it so you don't have to care how much money is running through track and field or softball or swimming or cross country. That like basically is, hey, these are our two money makers, and then cool if we happen to win a natty in cross country, great. That's more money, but we don't have to necessarily care. It's the age old adage of hey, stop worrying about how little money you make and start trying to make more money, so then your problems become less.
But what do we look at? Again, I'm going to keep on the unintended consequences thing.
Yeah.
Look how tight money is in the athletic department now. I was talking to a guy.
This guy
who is really focused on money at a particular university. And he's talking to me about how stick and ball sports have to go to the College World Series at a minimum. Because the conference tournaments on TV don't make as much money as going to the World Series makes, because that's extra TV exposure that isn't built into your individual distribution.
Right.
We're talking about how volleyball has to make money because you don't even get seen in volleyball until championships are on the line.
Well, and I also think to that point, what's always been interesting in the NIL era with like how schools, use and how they choose to go about spending their money, both in NIL and in just in the budget for the athletic program, is to that point. Hey, if the ask in the secondary sport is to go to the College World Series, right, and to get to that level of success, well, obviously part of that level of success is being willing to spend money to go out and get talent, right?
And
but then you
now,
also,
and now you're going to turn over coaches at an incredibly higher rate in those sports.
Right.
Think about that.
So if you had, and this kind of brings me back to the point I was making, if you had a bigger pot of money because football was doing so much better and you had a much more streamlined process, then at that point you would have whatever and I don't even know what it would be in, the secondary sport, but you would have enough money to where you could go out and compete for better talent to allow you to get to those higher levels. And I just think it's one of these deals where unfortunately, and maybe this is what they need to talk about, but unfortunately, everything is tied back to football. Every single thing in the athletic department can be tied back to how you did in football, which is why when random ass terrible season like Utah had, just as an example, like that's why that's so painful, because nobody saw that coming.
And then you tear everything down because of it.
And by the way, I have to say, quick sidebar, then we'll move on. The video, the massive videos coming out about Utah's quarterback Napier is absolutely Dampier. I'm sorry, I said Napier. Dampier is ridiculous now. If you go on Twitter, you go on Instagram, TikTok, it's this guy can run like Lamar Jackson, can throw the ball 70 yards.
Yeah, that throw that's on all over Twitter that he made.
People are all over dude now. So I'm just saying the secret, in my opinion, now is officially out that, hey, like Utah went out and got a quarterback. They've got the OC. They've got a good offense.
But what happened? Kyle Whittingham had one of the worst offensive seasons in his history as a coach. And their offenses, if we're being brutally honest, and I apologize to my friends at Utah.
Yeah.
Kyle Whittingham hasn't exactly had scintillating offenses over his tenure at Utah. You want to know how bad their offense was last year? I think it's the worst offense. I think Kyle Whittingham was embarrassed by his offensive ineptitude.
Well, I mean, realistically, what happened? Honestly, you went from being, hey, I'm a wizard on defense and I ground and pound on offense, to I'm a wizard on defense and I'm embarrassingly bad on offense.
And I can't operate. I can't operate. on offense.
Like, come
I've
on.
got one of the top quarterback recruits in the country as my quarterback, and we can't function. So that's one bad season. What did they do? They burned that freaking offensive thing to the ground.
So much to the point that that very prospect was considering leaving and came back.
And then you went and hired Jason Beck, and he brought his quarterback together. They were one of the best OC quarterback combinations in the country last year.
And I agree. Dude's got a load of talent.
So all of that to say, it's not just football doing that anymore. Do you know how much money is spent on volleyball recruiting?
Yeah.
I'm talking to this bro the other day about how he's trying to find more money for volleyball recruiting.
See, that's what I mean. I feel like
What?
and I don't know if you've had these conversations or not, but I feel like with the house settlement and with just kind of everything going on with NIL, like dudes in administration right now or personnel in administration who are tasked with deciding how funding is allocated are just sweating, bro. And it's no fault of their own.
Yep.
I really feel like the system has just, it's like a pressure cooker now to try to figure out, okay, well, it's like you're playing a game of shells, right? Like, all right, cool. Like, awesome football year, awesome basketball year, crap year in the pool, crap year in cross country. Softball was amazing. All right, what are we doing next year?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You guys didn't do so well in the badminton had a really down year. We're not going to be able to give you guys any red Gatorade. You guys are drinking the yellow Gatorade that nobody wants. Right?
Like,
So, that's going to save us $3.16. You guys are out of luck.
So then my next question is, if you don't have the money to pay for new Gatorade coolers, as a joking example, how are you supposed to go out and revamp your program? Because I got news for everybody. What Kyle Whittingham did was only possible because he's a football coach. Like, it's the football program. It's top-notch priority, level 1, code red level.
But look, they did to their basketball coach. And I don't mean to keep pointing at
but
Utah.
I think it's a great
but
example.
They fire their basketball coach the half second that they're eliminated from the tournament.
Yeah.
When Utah basketball had no chance at a postseason tournament, hey, Jimmy, come on over. You're out.
Pack this thing up. We're out of here.
You're done. It's over.
Cold-blooded, clean, methodical, and thorough.
You go watch the baseball coaches, the softball coaches, the track coaches. I'm telling you, volleyball recruiting, don't go pay attention to it. There's no reason to. Go pay attention to volleyball recruiting. You want to see some crazy money? You want to see the money that is being spent on outside hitters in volleyball, in NIL and in the portal? Good luck. Because they're making more money than all of us combined. It's outrageous what's happening, and it's because we're out of control financially in college sports. So I agree reform needs to happen, but do we really need the Donnie Commission on fixing college sports? I don't know.
I think that largely remains to be seen.
Sergeant Morhew for $5. Looking forward to Pac football on their new partner, C-SPAN. See, the problem is we get all the Pac-12 fans that come in here and like, oh, you guys just hate the Pac-12. Nothing could be further from the truth. The problem is we're not willing to sugarcoat it so you feel better.
Yeah, we're not knee padding the Pac-12.
We're not willing to lie to you and tell you somehow, some way that Utah's the reason the Pac-12 fell apart.
Yeah, that's some crack pipe raccoon behavior.
We're not willing to do that. I don't have a dog in the hunt. Honest to God. And I see all the comments about you just love Gloria Nevarez and she's You think Gloria Nevarez is ringing my phone?
Hell no.
You think other than being on the show, do you think that lady even knows we're alive? Probably not. I'm going to say, because she's got mediation that starts a week from today, she's got some other stuff she's concerned about.
It's like a act of Congress.
Right? I don't think she's worried about little old Marty and Jakey Two Shakes.
Yeah.
So the idea that we're shining like this guy in my TikTok DMs the other day, I will read it to you because it's one of the funniest things I've ever seen.
Buddy was buddy tonight.
Yeah, Buddy was buddy. Buddy was buddy tonight. Okay, TikTok DMs.
Yeah.
Jasper,
Oh, this should be rich.
who is a Oregon State fan, how much are they paying you? And he goes into this long soliloquy that he ends with, that's the only way. Because I don't think you're stupid, Monty. I just think they're in your pocket, and it's sad. I used to love your show, but you're so biased because the Mountain West is paying you. And I said to him, do you really think the Mountain West is spending money on the Monty show so I will agree with them? And he said, it's the only other thing that makes sense because there's no way you can believe that the Mountain West has a better position in front of a judge. You're better than that, is how he ends it. And I didn't reply.
That is the single biggest issue in our country, in my opinion.
People
don't read. They don't do the homework. They don't understand the total picture, the total landscape, the total battlefield. And then they say things like that. And again, I've graduated. See, there's been sort of a renaissance on this show for me with Pac-12 fan in the comment section. And now, again, in the TikTok DMs. I used to get upset with the arrogance. But now it's so plain as day that you guys just aren't educated. The idea that you think the Pac-12 has the upper hand legally tells me you just haven't done the homework. You don't understand how this all came to be and what's going on.
This guy Brock arguing with me, the burden of proof is on the Mountain West and they don't have it. Okay, no. If you bring the action, the burden of proof is on you. You're the one who is in breach of contract. The burden of proof is on you. You're the one filing antitrust lawsuits. The burden of proof is on you.
Yes.
You're the one trying not to pay exit fees that you had a hand in crafting. The burden of proof is on you.
I'm screwed.
The burden of proof is on you. The exiting members of the Mountain West, literally were there and played a role in creating these exit fees and this $5,000 deposit and this date for this letter of withdrawal from the conference. And now you're saying it's against competitive balance.
Me?
Well, it wasn't against competitive balance when you wrote them. But yet I get Brock in the comment section saying, well, the burden of proof's on the Mountain West and they don't have it.
It's ridiculous.
I'm not a lawyer, so I talk to lawyers. I ask lawyers for reference. They send me Harvard Law website.
That was incredible too.
Right? The good faith basis. So everybody in the Pac-12, this is what we talked about last week. Hey, when you sign a contract and after you sign the contract through the life of the contract, you have to act in good faith to execute your responsibilities of said contract.
That you agreed to in writing.
So when you sign a contract in a scheduling agreement, and in that contract, it says there's poaching fees, you can't say, well, yeah, but...
Now that we piped you, we're not really interested in paying the exit fee and the poaching fees.
And you can't make an argument in court that says, well, we knew those, but we knew they were illegal. Our lawyers knew they were illegal.
Back of the envelope calculations.
That's acting in good faith?
Because it's illegal.
I mean, come on, dude. Like this is what I mean.
It just comes down to that. No, I do not think they're going to be on C-SPAN. My guess is you're going to be on the C-Dub and there's going to be a significant streaming component.
Yeah.
And I think if this is a template, this new deal for 2025, if that's a template, that's a good deal.
Perfectly fine. That works. I mean, it just comes down to an amount, how much each school is getting. But
which
again, I think your point about the broadcast portion or the production portion is the key.
Yeah. That is baffling to me. With everything going on in college sports, it would be in the best interest that both conferences do in fact merge.
Right. And I feel like even as much as we disagree, and I say we meaning us and Pac-12 Homer, as much as we all disagree on like the minutia of this case, bro, we all agree that merging would be best case scenario.
Yeah, I don't think anybody argues with it. Oak State James. I went through a mediator to get my alimony reduced. Dude, you got divorced? You didn't tell us that.
Well, he called his wife ugly, dude. Come on.
You got divorced?
Yeah, I'm not talking about that.
I now only pay 40% of the original decision. I hope the Pac-12 can do the same. Bro, I am sorry to hear you got divorced, my guy.
Now you can go full hoodie and meet someone half your age.
Did you really think she was ugly? I'm super curious about that.
Monty, I'm just asking for a friend,
Now that you're divorced and you've already mediated your alimony,
not arbitrated, mediated,
which is different than masturbate. Never mind.
Whoa.
The point is, did you really think she was ugly? Don't answer that question. Sergeant Moorhew, if mediator was Nick Saban, who would he aligned with? I think he would be aligned with the "you guys need to merge" party. Honest to God, I think he would.
Yeah,
without a doubt.
He has our full respect.
Without a doubt. Sergeant Green, Monty is the mediator. I am.
That's
not.
right, Monty. Well,
you know
mediator.
the Mountain West already pays
they're
me.
paying you.
The Mountain West is in my.
Excuse
me, they're in my pocket.
Yeah, I mean, did you negotiate that with them when we signed the contract and everything, that you would mediate the potential merge? I mean, come on.
Hysterical. Danny Kiger. It is so expensive to produce good quality video content. Ask Jake. And that rocket ship that's sitting on the desk in front of him.
We're in a control position.
Do you guys understand the 3 computers that are sitting here on this desk?
Bro.
It's like, it's almost, it's ridiculous. Look at this here low budget production that can't even get them damn colors right for Jake Salmon pink shirt.
It's insulting, dude. It's literally insulting.
I wasn't going to say anything.
How can I operate in these conditions?
That Jake wore a legitimately red Tiger Woods polo shirt.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to say anything. And now Danny Kiger has saved me.
That's what they do.
Yeah.
Do
you know how much money we have invested in computer equipment? It is ridiculous. Real quick sidebar here on the Monty Show. Hour number 2 presented by our friends at Prize Picks. And we're going to talk about the NBA draft lottery, which I believe is in Prize Picks today.
Damn well better be.
27 minutes and 55 seconds away. We live in Salt Lake City, and there is a windstorm that is unbelievable right now. We are in an office building. Our studio is in an office building that just vibrates and shakes. And like you can hear the wind again, like pounding.
It's brutal, bro.
I live in a pretty dense community, meaning there's a lot of houses close together. And a house caught on fire yesterday. And the wind was so bad that it could have burned down an entire block. What the fire department did to contain that fire was amazing. The wind that's going on in the state of Utah right now is terrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely terrible. Knicks and Celtics coming up in about an hour and 10 minutes. Knicks are up 2-1, even though the Celtics embarrassed the Knicks at the Garden the other night. That game will be on ESPN. Draft lottery coming up here in less than 30 minutes. Make sure you download the Prize Picks app. Use the promo code Monty to open up a new Prize Picks account. And I'm interested to see tonight how the Knicks do. Do you lean one way or the other?
I lean towards this is going to be the best game of the series, I think. I think finally the Celtics shot the ball well enough to where, they could produce a more normal performance for themselves. And now this is the game where we're going to find out who's going to win the series. Because if the Knicks can make adjustments and can counter, then they'll win the series. And I don't think it's going to be all that close. If we have another, blowout, then I think you're in real trouble. Then I think from there, you're playing a 3-game series at that point, 2 of which, correct me if I'm wrong, I think 2 of which would be in Boston. You're not in a good place there. So
they would be in Boston, correct?
This, in my opinion, for the Knicks is a must-win game. I think you want nothing to do with playing a 3-game series, not having home court advantage. And, if you can, I'd like to see them limit limit the number of 3-point attempts. That's, to me, if you're the Knicks, what you're trying to do. You need to keep the Celtics under, 50 attempts for the game. If you do that, theoretically, you should be able to limit them. You know what I mean? Slow them down.
Jason Tatum, 26.5 points. What do you think of Jalen Brunson tonight? I can't do points. 27.5. He's just been so erratic. He's
due. But
you think he is?
yeah, I mean, I think he is. Obviously, it's at the Garden. This is a huge game, dude. I mean, to me, again, this is one of those games that I always reference on the show where I'm going to remember how you did in this game. Because, again, this is that game where you just got your ass beat in your place, and now you got to bounce back. So you really telling me that Jalen Brunson's not going to have a huge night tonight in a bounce-back game? I mean, come on.
I think he will. I would agree with, boy, that's tough, dude.
I mean,
the Jalen Brunson stuff is really difficult.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm going to go more than 37.5 points, rebounds, and assists.
Yeah, I think that's the safer play. Points, rebounds, and assists.
How many 3-pointers out of Derek White? His number is 3.5, 4.5 on a demon. He hasn't hit that but once. God, dog.
It's tough.
I think you got to go. I think you got to stay away from that. This is a tough series to call, you guys. I
would be looking at Karl Anthony Towns tonight.
His rebound number's pretty easy.
Yeah, very gettable rebound number. You can get it at a really reasonable demon as well. They've
13.5.
13 and well, I mean, look at his last 2 games though. He's been over 15 boards. So I was looking at 14.5.
No, I'm going to go 13.5. What do you do with you got to have a Celtic pick here.
I was actually going to go to the other series tonight for Julius Randle.
Julius has been red hot. Julius has been red hot.
Yeah, so I really like his points, rebounds, and assists number at 39.5. That's the lowest demon. He's been having huge nights.
I think Jimmy Butler has to have a massive night.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go Jimmy Butler 1.5 3-pointers made on a demon. So my NBA board tonight, Jalen Brunson more than 37.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Karl Anthony Towns more than 13.5 rebounds, and Jimmy Butler more than 1.5 3-pointers. And then they're giving you a boost, a 20% payout boost.
Yeah.
Okay, we're doing that. Flex play $20 to win 158. Hot damn, baby!
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm doing that.
Yeah.
I'm doing that. You get 2 or 3 right. You get 98. Yes. That's what I love about Prize Picks, you guys. My formula to win, you do a 3-pick flex play. You only got to get 2 or 3 right to pay out. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Nice.
What do you got tonight?
I'm going Jalen Brunson on a goblin, more than 35.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Karl Anthony Towns on a demon, 14.5 rebounds or more.
Okay.
And then Julius Randle on a demon, points, rebounds, assists, 39.5.
Okay.
And that's 20 to pay 240 if I get all 3.
I like that. I like that 100%.
Buddy gets paid a lot of money.
Buddy does get paid.